Hi, guys.
Supposed to fade the music out, producer boy, not just cut it.
It's not a very good
Houston.
fade. Do you see this fade? There's no fade.
Producer boy. All right. Go ahead, Lindsay. You're first.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. It is actually fall here where I live in the state of Satan's asshole. As Houston can attest.
No, it's only 99 degrees there today instead
No,
of
it's a very cool 80.
You still got 15 degrees on me.
It's 53 here.
We're at 64, 65, somewhere in there.
But it's supposed to get down into the 40s tonight.
And it's supposed to get down to 34 tonight here. Country, you're probably the only place that I know that'd be cooler than me.
He's in
Minnesota.
Minnesota, yeah. That Tim Wall state, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where men are men and sheep are scared. All right. So, we got a lot to cover today. We are going to be interviewing Producer Boy. You need to change your title on this thing to Producer Boy. But before we get to that, I thought it would be fun to do an update on DoorDash Girl. But before we get to that, we do have a quick announcement to make, which is we are not going to DC next week. Yes, I'm not
very disappointed.
And the reason is not our fault, but apparently the Republicans and Democrats can't set aside their differences long enough to open the country up. So literally nothing is open in DC, including the Capitol, and thus there's no one there to interview for us, which was the whole reason we were going.
Yeah.
So we have postponed it once they settle their differences. I'm trying to be nice.
Well, the congressman here in Iowa, he was more than willing to work with us. The problem was he didn't know when he was going to be there.
Exactly. And you never know if they decide to come back into session, he may not be able to shake free.
Correct.
Right. It's all in the air.
And that was assuming TSA
too, and nothing's open. Literally nothing is open.
That was assuming TSA would actually let us fly out.
Well, that was the other thing, right? I don't know about where you guys are at, but here locally it's not bad, but my connecting flight is horrible where it was Charlotte. So we will not be in DC next week. So we'll be here in our normal thing. And I'm very sad about that, but it is what it is. And it's not our fault.
We didn't do it. For once, it wasn't us. I am not the problem this time.
You.
It was me.
So anyway, that's that. Moving that aside, we'll probably announce it again later so people know. Let's get back to DoorDash Girl and start the clock, Curtis. Hard finish on this, no later than 4:20 because I want to get to you after because we screwed you out later. So the reason I wanted to do an update on it is
DoorDash Girl.
Play the video already. Slow down there, guy. All right. We're going to play her latest video, which came out, I believe, 2 days ago. And then I want to talk about it because I reached out to an attorney in New York State, which I found out is where they are. Potentially New York City, but I haven't confirmed that. And I got some information on it to kind of update you with. So why don't we go ahead and play the video first? Go ahead, Curtis.
Hi guys, it's the DoorDash Girl. I'm also Olivia, but I prefer to go by Liv or Livy Henderson for anybody who's wondering. And for anybody who's just now hearing about this, what happened is October 12th, 2025, I was doing my job as a DoorDash driver, and my customer requested that their order be left at their front door. And when I arrived at their house, their front door was wide open, and they were within eyesight of the front door, laying on the couch indecently exposed to me. And I reported this to DoorDash, and I want to clarify, I did report this to the police the very next morning on October 13th. And DoorDash did ban the customer, and then a day and a half later, DoorDash banned me as well, and this was DoorDash's response to me.
Which basically, to sum it up,
there have been a lot of people saying things like I entered the customer's home or I opened the customer's door, but I can assure you that I did not do either of those things, and I have obtained irrefutable proof that the door was already wide open when I arrived to the customer's house. But due to its importance, I cannot post that proof at this time. And to all those that have been supportive of me during this time, thank you so much.
You can cut it from there because the rest is just
her
her sucking up to her fans. So The reason I wanted to play that, one was to let her share her side of the story, right? Straight from the horse's mouth. So, as I said, I spoke to a buddy of mine who is an attorney in New York, has done criminal defense law, doesn't claim it's his specialty, right? About this particular situation, and he did some investigating because he wasn't even aware of it. And then here we go again with these two. Here's what he basically said to me. So I'm going to read it, and it's in non-lawyer form, but basically said, let's start with the basics. Under New York state law, what she did would be considered unlawful surveillance. That means she intentionally used her phone to record someone who was inside of his home, a place where he has a reasonable expectation of privacy. You can't secretly film someone who's naked, half-dressed, or just living their life behind closed doors. That can be considered a felony in New York. Not a gray area, not a viral moment, a felony. Okay. The minute she stuck that phone through the doorway and hit record, she potentially crossed the legal line. Doesn't matter if the door was cracked or wide open, or if the guy had even stood there answering the door, which I wasn't aware of that one, right? I mean, kind of was, but if he's inside the home, he's entitled to privacy. That's his space. The law doesn't give anyone a pass just because they think it's funny for TikTok. New York Penal Law 250.45 calls it exactly what it is: unlawful surveillance in the second degree. You don't get to play paparazzi in somebody's home. I love that one, especially when someone's naked. That's the first part. So there's three parts to it. Did she push the door open? We're not even touching that.
It's a moot point.
Did she film him, which she herself has admitted to in multiple videos? Yes, she did. Part two is unlawful dissemination or publication of an intimate image. New York Penal Law 245.15. It appears she doubled down. She didn't just recorded it, she posted it online where potentially millions could see it, which I know for a fact over 10 million saw the first video when I saw it, right? That is a separate crime under New York Penal Law 245.15, unlawful dissemination of an intimate image. You cannot publish a nude or partially nude image of someone without their consent, especially when your goal is to embarrass or humiliate them. That's literally what the law was written for, which she clearly, openly has stated. This isn't content creation, it's digital humiliation. It's the thing that New York made illegal after revenge porn cases blew up. Intent matters. Her intent appears to be obvious. I like how the lawyers play these little game with their words, right? She wanted to expose him, to mock him publicly, to get views at his expense. That's textbook intent to cause harm, in my opinion. At a minimum, a Class A misdemeanor right there. And then there's some other stuff, but that's basically it, right? So whether the door was open or not is completely irrelevant to the argument. And we don't know either way. All we have at this point that I can find to this day is her word saying it was closed. There's rumors out there that it was, or that it was open. There's rumors out there. There's a Ring camera and all this. No one's ever seen them. So I prefer to stick with the absolute facts we know, which is she did film him and she did post it online. That's two crimes right there.
So she filmed him and disseminated the film.
I don't see any way out of it for her because she openly admits multiple times that she took the video and posted it.
So here's the funny part. If she had not disseminated it and showed it to law enforcement and law enforcement only, she might have had a snowball's chance in hell.
Might have. Even that, because I didn't ask it the way you did. You did a much better job than I did, but I did ask my buddy. And he said, basically, even then it's questionable because he's inside his home and looking at the video, it appears he is either unconscious or asleep.
So I've had the biggest debates on, I would prefer to just deal with the facts, right? I actually had a debate with a friend of mine. We did it in DM where he was talking about the misinformation and please everyone stop, passing around misinformation. And then he proceeded to himself use misinformation, which was assuming the man's intent. Well, he ordered DoorDash, and he obviously knew she was coming. And I'm like, you know what you sound like when you say that? We're assuming it. You sound an awful lot like she knew what she was doing when she wore that and got drunk.
Good point.
That's exactly what you sound like. You sound like the people who try to excuse rape by saying that the woman was asking for it by what she was wearing. That's what you sound like when you're assuming his intent. Because otherwise, I mean, you can't have intent when you're unconscious. If you are unconscious, you cannot have intent. He could have had a medical episode. He could have had an epileptic episode. He could have had, something wrong with him. If I were to stumble out of my house now naked because I'm having a seizure, I would not be charged with indecent exposure.
Right.
And then they're like, well, he was, the door was open. I was like, yeah, but okay. And then I used another criminal.
We don't know what opened the door, though.
We don't. We also don't know that the man inside that she filmed actually is the one who ordered the food. That's assuming that he's the one who placed the order in the first place. There's so much we don't know.
And that he knew it was her specifically that was coming, which I covered before last week.
So I mean, my argument was we are trying to assume and assign malice to the part of the man because he is a man in order to give him, make it her somehow both their fault or less her fault.
Excuse her breaking
and excuse
the law.
her. And I'm like, if it were the other way around, imagine if a woman were found in a vulnerable position, half undressed, and someone would come up and film her. We wouldn't be having this conversation. And most people would be down in the comments going, oh my God, what if she was having a medical episode? Exactly. Why are we willing to give her grace, but none for him? It's because societal expectations, unfortunately, consent is something that women have, men don't. And I've gotten a lot of flack on it online from defending him. Surprise, I'm shocked. But I've started getting a lot of people to actually understand, when I say that assuming his intent, assuming that he knew what was going to happen when, he laid down everything, sounds exactly like the same argument that she knew what she was doing when she wore that to the club, or she knew what she was doing when she left the house in that. And I've had people stop mid-sentence and go, fuck, you're right. I'm like, exactly. Amazing how that works, huh?
But to the point, though,
as my buddy drop said, it off at the goddamn porch
and walk away. But
walk away.
Like my buddy said, two wrongs don't make a right according to the law. Right. So, the scenario he was throwing at me was if he had opened the door and stood there naked, it still does not give her legal permission to take a video and post it to the internet. There's nowhere in the law it says you can't do it, well, unless the guy's standing in front of you naked, unless he gives consent. If he gives consent, right? I haven't seen anywhere where she has said he explicitly gave her consent. And that's an important distinction, right?
Well, consent and intent.
Because she didn't get it. We all know that.
So, I mean, there's another example I used, and this was from another case in, there's a lawyer, criminal defense attorney on TikTok. She's been doing it for like 15-something years, and she sat and she's picked all this apart, and she has quoted New York law for you to code for us to look up, and given us specific cases that we can look up in their system.
Probably similar to the ones I used. Yeah.
Which I've done because, of course, it's me. And in a car, you could be sitting naked in your car in New York because that's a expectation of privacy. The only way you can see in is if you go and you look in. Right. There was a case where the window was open. Someone had forgotten to close the curtains, and at night, a lot of people forget that you can see into the house very easily when the lights are on. And someone was walking around after taking a shower naked. You can't. That's not public indecency, or I think whatever. Indecent exposure or anything,
or lewd and lascivious behavior.
It's oops, it's uncomfortable, but it's not a criminal act. It's, well, shit, I forgot to close the curtains, or I forgot that, because you're not intending to arouse. And that was another thing. Intent is a big part of public lewdness, and indecent exposure is you have to have intent. If you don't have intent, like there was another case where a baby got out of the front door and the mother ran out butt naked to grab the kid because it was either It was either my kid's going to walk into fucking traffic or I'm going to run out the door. She wasn't charged because her intent was to save her child, not
nor should
arouse,
she be,
nor
right?
should she be. So all of these things are examples of being exposed accidentally to nudity is not in itself a crime. You have to have consent in many cases and intent. And the biggest problem with this case that bothers me the most is that everyone and their mother is assuming the intent of the man simply because he is male.
But here's the thing, Lindsay. That's all irrelevant.
Well, yeah, it is irrelevant.
It's complete. There's no reason to even have the discussion in regard to the fact, from our perspective as men, what this woman did, which is irrefutable. She took pictures and video of him without his consent.
Well, she violated him.
Posted them on the internet. And the reason I keep bringing it up is you look at the response from the women, obviously a few men as well, defending that action, saying it was justified. And then from there, she's exploded it, right? But just focusing on those two things alone, to my knowledge, there's been no charges. I suspect an investigation is taking place because that statement that we just played clearly isn't written by her. I mean,
no, she's also way backing up on what because she.
Hell yeah!
Originally, she accused
crazy.
She's backstroking like crazy.
She's screwed, and she knows it. And her lawyers are telling her, you got to try and get out of this the best you can.
There's also we also have videos of her talking about how the reason TikTok took the video down is because they were going to have to pay her for those 2 million views. So she did it.
Yeah, they took it down because of nudity.
But she's upset that she's not getting her payday. That don't look good for her. And enough people have downloaded that video that it's out there.
Yeah, well, it's still up on her account.
Yeah, it's still up on her account. But for her to sit there and pretend like she's I'm the victim. Have you seen those AI?
Yeah. Here's the thing that the men need to understand from all this, that we men all need to understand is, look at the paradigm that this is, right? Which is, according to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of women, it is okay to do this. And potentially this is a false allegation, right? We don't know yet what his intent was. We don't know what his intent was.
No, but we know that she's made a false allegation.
But we know what she did. And the fact that they're doing that should be a shot across the bow for every man. Because it's not just her doing this, it's literally millions of women out there. And if you think that it can't happen to you, go to my podcast. There's probably a dozen men I've interviewed that have faced false allegations, and ask them, and they'll tell you, I never thought it would happen to me. I'm sure this guy said the same thing in his mind and is saying it. You need to understand that every woman is a risk to you. You never know what they're going to do. You need to cover your ass. Make sure the door's closed. Again, I'm not trying to fault the guy, but had his door been closed, and he like Lindsay said, he might have been drunk or whatever and had an episode, or who knows. But the point is we have to take every step to protect ourselves, because don't think that all these women that are cheering her on wouldn't make a false allegation against any man, because they absolutely would. And that's the real takeaway we need to have from it. So that's kind of where I wanted to go with it, and just give an update. Any final thoughts, because we're on our time frame on it?
Nope.
All right, we're going to shift now to the other bald guy on the show. Are you scared? You should be.
We had a candidate for him on Sunday.
Are you running?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you were actually up for election this year. Okay. So what we wanted to do is, Kurtis is the mayor of his town, East Bumfuck, Iowa.
Center. In the center.
Where the main crop is corn. And literally is.
Corn and pigs.
Yeah. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about was, a couple of weeks ago, we had talked about how important elections are and how people don't vote in this type of election, which is called the munis, right? It happens every 4 years. That's when the mayors, city councils, and all them, because there's no national offices up for election, right? President was last year, Congress, Senate, they're all next year, all that stuff. So these are the lowest turnout by far. Last time I knew in North Carolina in 2021, it was 15% of the eligible voters.
Houston, you are a sick puppy.
Jeez. I just saw that. That is good.
Holy cow.
We're going to so get banned. It's not us saying it, YouTube. It's them.
No, not even close.
That's on you, YouTube. Anyway, so we wanted to cover it because it is important to men's issues. People don't realize that. We kind of talked about some of the things that we're aware of, which is, you look at things like domestic violence shelters. Well, local politics comes into play big time, as I found here, right? Yes, they're funded federally by VAWA. Yes, states kick in money to accompany VAWA. But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, most of them are run locally, not at a statewide level or federal level. And local politicians are intimately involved with it. So that's why we wanted to have Kurtis on to kind of talk about things as a local politician, and how one of the things I want to, kind of go with is, when you're running for office, Kurtis, the first question I want to ask you is, have you ever even been asked about men's issues?
No. I've been asked about school issues. I've been asked about property tax issues. I've been asked about infrastructure issues. What's interesting to me is that there's this wide variety of things that we have control and authority over, but I don't get those questions.
So no one ever asked you about either domestic violence shelter locally, or when you talk about like do you talk about education and the issue with boys in school or anything along those lines?
There, as far as like boys issues and stuff like that, it has never come up as far as the social issues or the social aspects of those issues are. What's come up is always the funding.
In what way?
Because it's all tied to property taxes.
Okay, so they'll ask you like, what is the school? And obviously the school board handles the funding, not you.
Well, they have their own tax levy on the property taxes, correct?
Right. So, but you don't, as a mayor, control the school's budget, is my point, I guess. That's the school board.
Right. So the school board, depending on the jurisdiction in Iowa, takes up anywhere from 1/3 to up to 60% of the property tax bill.
It's probably about the same, I think, in most places.
Yeah.
I mean, North Carolina, 50% of the tax revenue goes towards
most of the time it's somewhere between 50 and 60%.
Yeah. I mean, it's like 50, off the top of my head, 53%, I think, goes towards education. So at the state level, that's not counting property tax and all that. That's state tax. So I guess the reason I asked that question was to kind of highlight that nobody asks, and we need to be, right?
Correct.
Because when I talk to local politicians, and I have in many areas, their answer is exactly what Kurtis's is. I've never been asked anything about it.
Well, in many cases, at least when I talk to my local politicians, the ones that come to my door, although I'm pretty sure my house is on a blacklist because everyone else gets visited, but not me.
Don't go to her house. She asks tough questions.
The last person that came to my house, of course, that they said, what do you want to see on a ballot? And I said, I want to see education reform for our boys, and I want to see a men's domestic violence shelter. And the guy's eyes crossed. Excuse me, what? Like, they're like, that's not a problem. And I'm like, oh yes, it is. Well, we have shelters for DV. You have shelters for women. You don't have shelters for men. There's only 2 in the country. One's up in Dallas, so at least our state's doing okay. And he's like, oh, well, we have homeless shelters. He said a homeless shelter doesn't have the same resources as a domestic violence shelter. So I want to see that on the ballot. And he goes, are you sure? Like, you don't want to talk about like the new Spurs like arena. I was like, we just fucking built them an arena like 4 years ago. They don't need a fucking new one.
That
We do
nobody
have,
uses, right?
and no one uses it. What we do need is domestic violence shelter for men. And he's like, his eyes are crossing, and he's looking at me, and he's looking back at his guy, and he's looking at me, and he's looking back at his guy like a deer in the fucking headlights. And I was like, you came to my door and asked.
So this is an interesting question that I do want to answer. Do you believe that there are really issues like DV or SA or IPV in your town with it being that small? I will tell you right now, there is one house where the residents that were living in that house in this town recently moved, and they had multiple calls for DV at this place, and they finally left. But typically here, you have to understand that the household median income is well in excess of $90,000 a year. So we're a really affluent community here. It's really hard to, it's really hard to really gauge any sort of like real issues with those sorts of things when you're in a more affluent community. Usually when you're dealing with like real DV, real SA, there's usually an ongoing perpetuation. They're usually poor. They're usually very controlling. They're usually uneducated. They usually lack self-control.
And that's not to say it doesn't happen in Africa.
No, that's not to say it doesn't happen. It's just not common here.
It's just the preponderance of it tends to be, and to Kurtis's point, they tend to be clustered also, right? And when you speak to police officers about it, they're like, oh yeah, I know this one house, right? We're there all the time. It just repeated calls. And so, I mean, not that I can answer for Kurtis, but I will tell to Steve, I would say guaranteed there's DV, IPV, whatever term you want to use, going on. Whether it's known or not is another story, right? Because people hide it. Is it lesser in rural areas? I will tell you, and my data is way out of date, 20 years out of date. But in New York, it really was about the same, right? Rural versus city. Income was a difference, to be sure, to Kurtis's point, and education was another one, by the way. That data that I knew going by that I just said is over 20, 25 years old and very poorly acquired, right? It was basically self-reporting from the domestic violence shelters, which they skew everything. So I'm always hesitant to, when somebody asks that question, because I've been asked it a million times, to answer it in the sense that I believe there's DV happens everywhere, and it's a non-issue as far as where it is. Any DV is bad, right? And there should be services available everywhere for any victim, male or female. And that's the problem, right? So in your area, Kurtis, what's the population of your town?
My town is 1,380.
And what's the nearest I know the answer, but the audience doesn't. What's the nearest big city to you in Iowa?
The nearest big city to me is Ames, Iowa. And Ames is where Iowa State University is located.
Okay.
And the approximate population of Ames is somewhere around 68,000 people.
Yeah, which is nothing compared to where I am, but
correct.
But for Iowa, it's a big city, right?
Yeah, in Story County is where I'm located, and the population here is approximately 100,000 people, right on the button, right? And we are the 7th most populated county in the state, and we have 99 counties.
So I don't know if you know this, but using Ames as your base point, we'll call it, right? How many shelters are in that area? Not based on gender, just shelters general.
So in Ames, there is one for adults, and then there is one for kids.
Okay. So they do have a shelter. My point being, there are services available. The next question then is, because I had this discussion with a reporter that we talked about last week, is how many beds in that shelter are available for men? And I don't know if you know the answer to that.
So here's the unique thing about the Ames shelter. The Ames shelter has these small little houses, and you're able to put gender specific folks in these individual houses. Mm-hmm. And you're able to do it that way in Ames. So they don't give out vouchers to a hotel. But I will tell you that on average, they have about 20 to 25 beds available total for adults. For kids, it's over 100.
So that's interesting. Wow.
What is the age cutoff for the kids, and does it vary by gender?
There's no like cutoffs for gender. The age cuts off at 17 for the kids.
Okay, because I know that
basically.
So yeah. I know that here the kids cut off at about 15, 16 or so. Mm-hmm. But there's no actual place that it's written down, but they'll accept a 17-year-old girl. They will not accept a 17-year-old boy.
So, and to that point, the advantage that Ames has in these little houses, because it's close by the hospital, is they're able to put an entire family into one house. So they don't have considerations of other families or other people that they get exposed to. Now, if you were to ask me about the homeless shelter in downtown Des Moines on Mulberry Street, that place is huge, and there is no restrictions as far as gender, age, nothing.
And that's where they end up sending a lot of the guys that are victims. Is they send them to homeless shelters. So Next question for you. How near is Ames to you, mileage or time?
So approximately, if I'm coming in, the east side of Ames is right at about 12 minutes. To get to the west side of Ames, 20.
So not far away.
No.
All right. Which answers the next question I was going to ask is, do you need or do you have services in your town? I would logically argue you probably don't, because they're so close, right? That's a fair
Correct.
statement.
Correct.
Now, the question I would ask, so what I'm doing, guys, is I'm asking the questions that you should be asking your local politician. All right. I didn't tell Kurtis I was going to do this because I wanted him
I didn't know any of these.
Yeah. I want him to react to what I'm doing, right? This is how you talk to the politicians, right? So obviously, let's change the scenario. Let's say Ames is 2 hours away. My next question to him would be, well, if Ames is 2 hours away, there's nothing local, what can they do, blah, 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 right? We're not going to go there because that's not the situation. So my next question to Kurtis would be, understanding that Ames has, its own government, do you, under your town, provide any funding or services for domestic violence to Ames or anywhere else? And have you considered that? Now, you notice the way I asked that was based on services, not male or female.
So the short answer is no. In a roundabout way, we do provide services through the county, and the county's taxes are geared for that.
Okay. So you're helping to fund
it. Inadvertently, yes.
Yeah. I mean, in a manner of speaking, right?
Yes.
See, so I'm not trying to gotcha Kurtis here,
right,
but I'm asking tough questions, and he's got to kind of answer them, right? So the next question I have for you is, understanding that Ames is the primary, we'll call it, at your local level, what kind of outreach are you doing separate from Ames to domestic violence victims?
So as far as outreach goes, if we find that there is an issue inside the city limits, we often work with them directly. It's usually me, because our town is so small. And if law enforcement involvement is needed, we we make a phone call and expedite that. So,
but does the town do anything like outreach, preventative, let's call it preventative wise, to let people know that services are available, not locally, but in Ames, like a PSA type thing or a billboard or a newsletter or anything like that?
No. In town, it's just been one of those things where the town is so small, and many of the residents have been here forever, their entire lives. A lot of them are born and raised, and the town is so small, everyone's up in everyone's business. So it's kind of like, okay, if Oliver, for example, you guys have met Oliver, my 8-year-old, he goes down the street on his bicycle and he gets into a little bit of a yelling match with another kid. It ain't nothing for me to get a phone call. Hey, Oliver was doing this, blah, 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 blah. And then conversely, if someone from out of town is seen in town that they don't know who it is, or if they've got different county plates or different state plates and they don't recognize the person, I'm immediately getting a phone call.
Okay.
So there's stuff like that helps mitigate that part. The other part of it is it's never really been necessarily a need yet.
How do you know that?
That's a very good question. See, I don't necessarily know that for sure. But
what's your population again?
1,380.
So I don't know Iowa's numbers. I'm going to use North Carolina's just for
3.4 million.
No, I'm talking about percentage of population that could suffer IPV in their lifetime.
Oh.
So you have, let's call it 1,200 in your town, just to use a round number. Yeah. North Carolina, 35% of women, 32% of men will experience IPV in their lifetime. So let's just use 30 to, I'm trying to use real easy math here. 30% of 1,200 is
400.
360.
Wow.
Nice guy.
If I were to go to a third,
in theory, right? Well, let's use 400, right? In theory, potentially, you could have 400 people in your town that are experiencing IPV, DV, whatever, and you have nothing in town to direct them to services in Ames. What could you do? And I'm not putting him on the spot, blaming him. That's not my goal, right? What do you think you could do as a mayoral candidate to help facilitate so that these people understand that there are services available, not locally, but down the road, as a matter of speaking?
So one of the things I think I would immediately do is my chief of fire and my assistant fire chief are both employed. The fire chief is a paramedic in Ames, full-time paramedic in Ames. He's a supervisor there. He would know the system inside and out, so that'd be an easy phone call for me to make. The assistant fire chief is also a professional firefighter in Ames, and he too would know. Between the two of them, I would be able to have an idea of how I could best facilitate those services.
Okay. Lindsay, if you have questions, jump in. But
no, I'm trying. I have more ideological things, like Steve was saying. That's why I asked my question. I figured if there was DV or SA, it would be known to many locals, and I don't necessarily think it would be.
It would not be.
It would not be, because unless it's the screaming kind, which is honestly,
or the one that happens over and over again.
Or the one that opens and over again. A lot of one of the reasons it makes DV, IBP, and SA so dangerous is that it's insidious because it's quiet. Most abusers don't want anyone to be able to come out and stop them from being abusers. So they're going to be very, for lack of a better word, squirrely about it. And they're going to keep it very, very, very covert.
Especially if the victim's a man.
Not only will the woman want to hide it, but the man himself, the victim, is going to bend over backwards to hide it because of social stigma, of shame, of the fact that he believes no one will believe him. And I keep running into this all the time when I talk to guys. I'm like, why, does anybody know? No, nobody knows. No, nobody knows.
Right.
And the victim himself will go out of his way to hide it. In the same way, believe it or not, that children that are being abused, not necessarily beaten to death, but children that are being systematically abused with neglect or emotional abuse or psychological abuse, will bend over backwards to pretend like there's nothing wrong. How many times have somebody been called to a child's home because someone else saw something, and the child will sit there and deny in the face? And women do this too, by the way. A battered wife will sit there and deny it until she's blue in the face. It seems like a paradox and a conundrum, but abuse victims, men, women, and children, have all been conditioned not to tell anyone.
Yeah. And I would, so this is a bit odd because the demographic here is interesting to me, because in central Iowa, the women are larger sized. Many of them are 5'9" or taller, and
tell he's a politician.
Could whoop a guy's ass. If it's just an odd thing that living in eastern Iowa, I didn't see that often. My mom is 5'11". My mom was an oddity to me, Mm-hmm. And then I moved to central Iowa, and all of them are like 5'9", 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot. And I'm like, where the hell did all these tall women come from?
That Viking blood, man.
It is. It
literally exactly is. What it is. It's exactly what it is. Yeah. So, but I hope people are getting a flavor of what I'm doing, right? I'm not attacking Kurtis. I'm not trying to be mean to him in any way.
And you guys are making me think, well, shit, I need to look at this.
Bingo. That's what I'm saying, right? So the goal ultimately is exactly what Kurtis just said. What can we get the politician to do at a local level? Should they open a shelter in his town? No. I mean, if there's 115,
not financially feasible.
Well, even if it was, it wouldn't make sense, right? There's not enough traffic, so to speak. But things they could do. So I would say to Kurtis is, do you do like a newsletter or anything from the town?
No, not right now. Part of the problem is the cost of mailing is actually.
Okay. What about email outreach or something like that?
We do have email and we do have social media.
So could you, for example, put a post on your Facebook page saying that, if you are a victim of domestic violence, here's where and you're in our town, here's where you can go. Would that be a problem for you to do?
No, not at all.
That's how you do it, guys.
What about a one-time cost of printing like a brochure or pamphlet or something, or business cards from the AIM shelters and bringing them in?
Something like that is easy to do.
So you could bring that into like just local businesses and whatnot, and just kind of have it with the other business cards?
There aren't a whole hell of a lot of local businesses. The places that I would put them is probably City Hall, where the only ATM is.
Yep.
I could put them at the local bar, at the local post office, and the library, and the convenience store at Casey's.
And potentially doctor's offices would be the other one.
I have no doctor's offices.
Okay. See, I didn't know. But you get my point, guys, right? This is how you talk to them. And I made Kurtis think, and he's actively involved on our side, right? I've now got his mind going, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? And I would say to his opponent these same questions.
I have no opponent, but yeah.
Okay, but let's assume you did, right?
Yeah.
You're at a candidate forum. This is what you go in and ask. Nobody's doing that, right?
No.
And you notice how I couched my questions. I never went into gender at all. Does that mean I wasn't ready to? Absolutely, I would, right? Because if he had come back to me, or Kurtis's situation is different. Let's say he was the mayor of Ames. He would have come back and said, we have a shelter, or blah, 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 blah. And I would have said, how many beds are there available for men? Which I did ask Kurtis, right? Okay. Most politicians are going to tell you, by the way, they don't know, and they don't. I'm not blaming them. They just don't know, right? But I would say to them, well, would you agree, knowing the statistics are what they are, that there should be an equal number of beds for men as there are women? Blah, blah, blah. Get them on the spot. Don't be mean, be respectful and all that. You know,
that's what I do all the time when I lobby.
Yeah. I would even throw in, look, I am a victim of domestic violence. When I was suffering from it 30 years ago, there was nowhere for me to go and take my children. 30 years later, that's still the case in many towns, cities, whatever you want to use, right?
Correct.
So what can you do as a local politician to help facilitate change in that matter?
Well, I sit on county boards. I sit on county commissions.
And you talk to people.
And I get to rub elbows with the mayor of Ames.
You also talk to state legislators as a mayor.
All the time.
As a mayor, right? Not
as a mayor and as the head of the nonprofit.
Right. Well, setting aside the advocacy side of it, I'm just talking as a politician, mayor, you're in constant contact with different things, maybe funding for roads, whatever, with the state. So you have an opportunity to then go to the state level, you know, and bring this up to them. That's how you turn the Kurtises of the world into our lobbyists without them being lobbyists. And trust me, it comes off way better than me and Lindsay going in, right? Because it's a fellow politician. You're probably speaking to people in the same party as you, right? For the most part.
I cross party lines because technically local government is a nonpartisan office.
Okay, in your town, right? So it's your
no,
you don't have a D or R after your name.
At the city level and school board level, they're nonpartisan.
Okay. So like my local mayor's race, there's 2 Democrats, 1 Republican running. I've asked all these questions, by the way. I haven't gotten an answer from any of them, which tells you a lot. But that's, guys, what I'm trying to do is teach you how to talk to local politicians. If it was a school board member, I'd be asking probably not about DV, but I would going the same track with boys' education issues, right? It you know, here where I am, we have the city government, we have the county government, which is more powerful than the city, although the city would argue with that. We have the school boards. They're all up. Various people are up for election. I've sent those type of questionnaires out to all of them. I have gotten a couple of responses, and one of them was along the exact lines Kurtis was, wow, now you got me thinking, right? And that's what you need to do, because by doing that, you can drive conversation up the ladder to the state. Conversation you may not be able to have as an individual trying to lobby. Jump in here, Lindsay. I know I'm monopolizing.
Well, no, I mean, I've asked of my school board, I've asked about disciplinary issues between disciplinary issues between men and boys and girls. We have more disciplinary issues with our boys than we do our girls. And I asked them, why do you think that is? Could it possibly be because you have cut recess down to like 12 minutes? And I know that when my son, who is a very active little boy, doesn't get to run it off, he gets destructive. And they kind of go, well, we need to fill with instruction every day. And I was like, okay, so where do you want them to get their activity in? Because they're in school, they're only in school for 8 hours a day, but the transportation time to get there, plus the transportation time to get home, then they have like 3 hours at home, and in somewhere in there, they have to do all their homework and eat dinner and do their chores. And where is the time for physical activity?
So I have a meeting with the local superintendent for our school tomorrow at I feel like where's my I know I have one. Yeah. At 2:00. So here's something that's interesting for you. One of the things I take an active involvement in is because we have the middle school here. Story City has the elementary and the high school over there because they're the larger town of the 2 towns. They have 3,400 people. We have 1,300 and some. The biggest thing that I look at is I constantly talk to the local politicians. I talk to the local mayors. I talk to the county supervisors. I talk to the superintendent and the school board members. I talk to the city council people here. Let's take, for instance, recess. Roland Story does 3 recesses per day at the elementary school, and they're not 12 minutes.
Nice.
They're 30 minutes apiece.
Nice.
And you know what? They fully realize what the needs of boys are. And you know what? Having them out there and engaging in the heavy play and wearing them out, it slows their mind so they can focus on their studies.
Mm-hmm.
They know
That's
this
the
stuff.
Benefit, actually. It
is awesome benefit.
It is.
And I'll tell you what, you can't beat Roland Story's test scores. And the thing is, people adamantly complain about the property tax rates and the tax levy rate on that. But I'll tell you what, I think it's worth it at that rate if I'm getting a product like that, because one, I'm not getting all of this ideological crap from either side. I'm getting solid evidence-based training on 30 minutes, 3 times a day. I know that I'm getting solid test scores out of these kids in the way that they're engaging, that they're there. You know what my kids' teachers always say, and it baffles the hell out of us, is your kid is such a good kid. Really smart, really attentive, does what he's supposed to do. And I'm going, my kid? Are you sure? Are we talking about, what the hell are you talking about? And I go, and you know what? They wear them out. They keep them engaged.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter says that with my granddaughters, right? They're like, why are they so well behaved for you? Because I tire them out and I'm not their mom, right? It's funny how that is. Steve asked the question, would I ask the politician if they're aware of the latest stats on male versus female? I always ask them. But I always expect the answer no. And I don't hold it against them if they don't know, because most of them don't. But that gives you the opening to kind of educate them, right? And again, you got to be respectful, and you have to understand that you want to make them your ally. Because like Kurtis said, he talks to people in other towns, the state level. You never know. I mean, Kurtis may be speaking to somebody at the national level at some point. And I know you have, actually, right?
Right.
But you never know what that person can do for you. And here's the other kicker. Every senator, every attorney general, every governor pretty much has come up through the ranks. There's exceptions, but they've come up through, they've been a mayor or they've been on the school board. You know, here locally, you go to the school board, to the county, up to the state. That's how it works. So you may not see fruition from your work for 10 years, but I've worked with politicians in New York that were nobodies and ended up being the head of their party in their assembly. Brian Miller, right? He was a nobody legislator from, if I remember right, Oneonta. Nobody. 5 years later, he was the majority or minority leader for the Republican Party in the New York State Assembly, which is huge. That's a huge ally to have, right? And he was wholeheartedly in our support. You just don't know, but you have to take these approaches and play the long game also.
But on a note of that, so like when you're approaching these people, when you're talking to them, you want to talk to them as though they are a person. Don't look at them by their title, because if you come in condescending like Sheldon from Big Bang Theory, they're not going to help you. So, I mean, yeah, I can be absolutely pissed that my local government isn't doing anything, or my school board isn't doing anything. If they want to be condescending pieces of shit, fine, let them. But I'm still going to talk to them like I'm talking to a person that, you know, like an equal. Because even if that one person that I'm talking to may not help me, someone who's listening in on the conversation might. And they're going to remember that I was condescended to when I was polite.
Right.
Kill them with kindness, in other words, and even if you really want to wring their neck.
Yeah. The other part to what Lindsay's saying, with some exception, Chuck Schumer being one of them, right? They're human beings. They put their pants on the same we do. You want to have respect for them, but you don't want to put them up on a pedestal either, right? Some of them are complete egomaniacs, Chuck Schumer. Some of them are demented losers, Chuck Schumer. Some are, see where I'm going with this, right? I've met with him. He's the most arrogant prick you ever met in your life. And it's all about him. You're never going to get through to him. But to Lindsay's point, maybe somebody on his staff, you will, right? Because the staffers are always there when you get to that level. And what the frig kind of, do you see that?
I blocked him.
Well, delete that. Really? I mean, Jesus Christ. Poor little loser boy. Mommy forgot to cross off his sandwiches today. So now he's upset. But it's mind-blowing to me that people think that this is somehow makes their life better. But anyway, the point being with all of this.
Somebody didn't have recess.
Apparently. Somebody didn't get, never mind. That one would get us in trouble. When you're speaking with politicians, have respect for them, absolutely, as Lindsay pointed out, but also don't put them on a pedestal. Most of them, you want to speak to them as you would a friend, even, right? Hey, can I meet with you and talk about domestic violence in our area? I know you're the mayor or you're running for mayor. I'd like to get some answers on some things that I have concerns about. And if they won't meet with you, like mine don't, well, then, next step is I'm going to let you know that I haven't voted yet. And they're going to get an email tomorrow from me, all of them, saying I never got a response. I have yet to vote. Either I'm going to sit this one out, or if somebody responds to me, they're going to get my vote, right? Because it's they don't have to give me an answer in the sense that I want a specific answer. But if they say, we'll meet with you or we hear you or something, just at least respond to me. Show me some decency.
I think it's important to be completely honest and transparent, one. And two, it's okay to say, I don't know.
I love when politicians say
I love when politicians say, I don't know, because that means you get to either inform them and then you can have a rapport with them. Angel asked, have I ever gotten really dismissive with anyone because I asked those questions? Actually, no.
I think he means the politician towards you.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I've never had to talk to someone who has been dismissive. They've been more curious.
I can think of 5 times. Deborah Glick, Sheldon Silver, all Democrats, by the way, Chuck Schumer, Kirsten Gillibrand, and Carl Heastie.
There's only one, and I'm not going to say his name because he's still...
People are asking, Sheldon from Big Bang Theory.
Really? We even had to... Country. Do better, man. Do better.
For shame.
The best comedy series.
No. Ever. It was Steve who said it originally.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
So Curtis, at a low, it compares, even though in a bigger town, is knowing that you it's not really something you're going to be heavily involved in, the men's issues, the boys' issues. But what other, like we talked about boys' education, we talked about DV, what other areas could people potentially, because, put your advocacy hat on now, not your mayor hat. Could you potentially go and talk to a local politician about that would be relevant to what they do? What are some of the other ones?
So I would tell you right away, yes. And here's where I'm thinking. In Roland, we've got this public library, and it's not the typical public, shh, you're in a library. Here's the funny part about this library. This library has so many events that go on. We do programming just for kids. Really? What a jackass.
You're back on a different account.
Right? Okay. So here's the...
Feminist pretending to be a man. You know what it is.
Yeah.
So trying to get expand is what they're doing.
So here's the interesting thing about this. We do like programming for kids in different age groups. And then what's interesting is our involvement is usually 14 years and younger in this group. And we've got all of the town's kids going to the library. They always go to the library. And guess what I get to do as the mayor? I get to engage these kids in ways that are positive. I get to say, hey, how's it going? Tell me, what do you have going on, and a lot of the times, there are several families in town that do homeschooling. And when they homeschool, they're at the library. So I get to engage these kids all the time, but I also get to engage some of the kids that are trouble kids. And they say things and they do things that are usually attention seeking. And I get to engage and have some conversations with, okay, but is this the type of attention that you really want to seek? Wouldn't it be more beneficial if you did something different to seek the attention you do want? And well, okay, how would that look? And I get to explain, let's do some role play. And I get to engage that way. So I get a lot of involvement and I get to have mentoring, guiding moments with a lot of these kids.
I thought of something else to ask you.
Yes.
So knowing that, I think the number's around right now, 7 million young men have actively disengaged from the labor market. At a local level, are you doing anything, or could you, to try and reach out to them to make them aware of availability of positions within your town government or any other type of research or not the term I want, any other type of outreach, that's the term I was looking for, that you could do to maybe even funnel them to state jobs or whatever? What could you do as a mayor of that?
The Department of Administrative Services is the state's website for state jobs. We have access to the Story County jobs that are available. We have we publish ours on Iowa Workforce Development and on Indeed.
But what could you do to directly, because that's if they're looking for a job. These boys aren't looking for a job. What do you think you could do in your capacity as mayor who mentors boys, right? You're just talking about that. What are ways that you could use your position to try and reach out to some of these boys at the local level that may be sitting this one out, so to speak, and try and re-engage them into the workforce?
A lot of that would be face-to-face contact.
Okay.
And I don't want to see, there's this sometimes there's this misnomer that, how do you get into someone's house and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to tell you here, a lot of people do go home. It's a bedroom town. It's a bedroom community, but they have jobs if they're at home. If they're not at home, they're out and about and they're on the streets and they're playing and they're having fun as kids do. Even the high schoolers are doing that. I get the opportunity to engage. And if I see an opportunity where I know, hey, what are you doing for work? What are you doing? Do you have a job? Have you gotten your work permit if you're like 14 or 15? Is your parents taking you to go get it? You should badger your mom or dad to do that. Do you have your driver's permit? Do you have your driver's license? Have you taken driver's ed? Things like that. And, a lot of times if you push those kids to take a little bit more initiative, that's the catalyst that will start the cycle, the snowball into an avalanche sort of thing.
So, understanding you're a smaller town, you probably don't have a ton of positions open at any given time, but understanding that these boys have just walked away from the market, and could you do things like what you're talking about, like mentoring in some form, or could you put in a local program, maybe tied in with churches or schools or whomever?
The opportunity is there because we have 2 Lutheran churches, oddly. That's all we have is 2 Lutheran churches. Apparently 100 years or more ago, there was a split. But the 2 churches are awesome. They work really well with each other and they work really well with the community. So there's one church that's a little bit quirkier about how they handle this sort of stuff. And then there's one church that's not so quirky with how they handle stuff. And kind of like deciphering through the quirkiness is easy for me because it's simply walking in. Okay, what would it take for you guys to do this? What do you need from a potential candidate? Or what would you need for a program? And a lot of it is just having the face-to-face conversation. I think that's where so I would say that Lindsay and I are not like typical millennials. We're actually probably more consistent with Generation X, where
Lindsay's more like a boomer.
I have been accused of being a boomer a lot.
But the thing is we're very face-to-face. If we got a problem with you, we're going to come to you. I think that goes a long way with folks, especially in Roland, where the median age, I would say, is probably closer to 50, 55.
So you're up there. You're up there.
So what about having getting one of the churches to kind of host a Dad Skills Day? Have a whole bunch of older guys come tell you how to change a tire.
Yeah. They would totally be on board with something like that. Both churches, in fact, would sponsor that in a heartbeat.
And you could tie in the town to help promote it.
In fact, you could probably get both churches to go to one location and do it all.
Could you, I don't know if you have like a Department of Transportation or something similar at the town level, could you engage the men that work there to bring a truck over, like a snowplow, and let the boys, for lack of a better term, play with it? Something like that.
The liability side of it can be a little hinky.
But like locally here, they just had a thing in the local park, and it was for all children, right? So they had fire trucks there. They had town vehicles of different types.
They could do demonstrations.
See, again, that's how Kurtis is getting it, right? And now I understand he's an advocate as well, so he understands it better. But you see how we're even making him think. Like Lindsay's question made him think. I could tell, right? And he's probably writing down what he's got to do now.
We had a local demonstration not too long ago. How many fire trucks will fit in how many fire trucks will fit in a C5? The answer is 3.
There you go. I mean, another thing, like
I know one M1 Abrams will fit.
Yeah.
2.
This
one had the troop compartment removed so that you could go further back.
I've asked locally, and I think I've mentioned this on this show. Locally, our sheriff, who just switched parties, which is hilarious to me, runs a self-defense program for women. Now, he's not up for election yet, and I'm kind of saving it because I'm going to put him on the spot when he's running for election and go, why don't you have one for men? Don't men need to have self-defense too, or know how to protect themselves? Don't tell me they know how to do it, because no, a lot of them don't, right? Some do, yes, probably more than women. But questions like that, it's not couched as a got you, and it's not, I kind of said it that way now, but I don't know this particular sheriff. I have interviewed him once. I think in his mind, it never even crossed his mind to do the guys, right? Never in a million years has it. Much like, I've got Kurtis thinking on something. This is how you get things done, by stirring the pot a little bit in a nice, respectful way, getting them thinking, and then the next step is to follow up with them, right? You said you were going to look into it, call them in a couple of weeks or email them and say, hey, just following up with you, right? Just wanted to see where we're at with it, and then see what they say. And then understand government doesn't change in a night.
Well, I'll tell you this, Dan. Here's something interesting that came up in our candidate forum on Sunday, and that was promoting more community involvement in local governmental decisions. You know what? A lot of these things would actually help people to get more engaged into, okay, this is what we're going to be doing. Okay, we're going to have this while we're there. We can talk to these people about this and this and this. This is like working really well.
That's again, we're getting back to this is how you become active.
Mm-hmm.
It does take a lot of time. like a candidate forum, how long was it? A couple hours probably?
Our candidate forum? What, I recorded it on Restream. It was 43 minutes, 44 minutes.
43 minutes. So you can take 43 minutes out of your life and go to the candidate.
That was 4 candidates.
Yeah. I mean, locally, our sphere was probably 2.5, 3 hours, somewhere in there. I didn't get to go to it. I had something I could not get out of.
We had 16 questions total amongst 4 people.
Which is more than most, to be honest with you. A lot of them. I mean, I've been at ones not here, but in New York where there was nobody. I mean, at the muni level, right? You have a senator or somebody running there. Oh, you're going to get audience. But at the muni level, like Saratoga, they would hold a forum and like 2 people would show up. Me and I was one of them. You know, and I knew both candidates personally, so it was like, "Hey, how you doing?" You know, that type of thing. But part of the problem is for this cycle, which is the munis, you need to get out and vote. So taking out the advocacy part of it on our issues, but just in general, no one controls your pocketbook more than your mayor, city council, town, county, because they're the ones that levy the property taxes. And the state has input in on it, but their budget determines your property taxes.
Not just that. You want someone. Okay, so what's interesting to me is you'll find that there are a lot of conservatives that talk about cutting spending. And I'm gonna share something that is very conservative in ideology, and that is a true conservative worries about providing essential services and getting you the biggest bang for their dollar. So you have to look at what are needs versus wants and really evaluate how can I go about this with the best way possible, spending the top dollar that we can.
So I've actually run into that. I've have a couple, one of the school board guys that I talked to, he says, well, I'm a proud conservative, said, okay. And he wants to cut spending in a certain area. He wanted to cut spending in services for autistic kids. And I was like, he said it was
fatal to a person's campaign.
Well, he didn't say it that way. He worded it so that it sounded, like he was cutting needless spending. But then you cut through all the bullshit. It was like, so you want to take services away from all the kids with autism? No, that's not what I'm doing. Okay. The sad thing is that the services that he wanted to cut, he didn't know what the services did.
Then why?
So why is he cutting them?
It's easier to say, I don't know.
I know, but
Jeez Louise, I know what they do.
These services are unneeded, and I'm like, do you even know what they are? The answer is no. Yes,
I would have said no. I don't know. Why would you put yourself in that position?
The school board loves me.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, I was persona non grata with my one.
Okay, no. So I have a story. I have a story about that. So I went to school in a certain district, and then I grew up. I moved to another state. I came back. My kids were in the same district. First school district or meeting in that district. The first person who was on the board or whatever was a teacher that hated me. You should have seen the look on their face when they saw that I was sitting in the parent section. Oh no!
Payback's a bitch, right? I mean, we're talking about a lot of different things, but this is where you have to get engaged, right? Mm-hmm. Again, this is most people would like. I don't even need to go vote. It's mayor. Who cares? Okay, remember that when your tax bill comes. Okay.
So I'll share it with you guys. Roughly in my district, it is for a house that is $200,000 in value. Your property tax bill is going to be approximately $3,000 for the year.
Lord.
Okay, for a house that's $400,000 or $300,000, your property tax bill is going to be $4,000, and conversely, every $100,000 of value up from there, right? So what's interesting is if you're not looking at what the expenditures are, you really, really, really are doing yourself a disservice by not participating in the election, going to the local city council meetings, going to the county supervisor meetings. You can attend them by Zoom, people. Go to the school board meetings. You can attend them by Zoom. Let's say you're working late at work and working on something. Plug in your earbuds and listen to it via Zoom. Stop slacking.
And I'll give you another reason why it's so important. And I'm going to use myself as an example. So the house I'm in, the one you see around me, we bought this house in 2017. My taxes, mortgage, insurance, all in was $768 a month. I'm now paying $1,013 a month. 200 whatever dollars more. And it's going up again. Some of it, yes, Lord, is insurance. Most of it is property and school taxes. Now, mind you, where I live, the county next to us is the fastest growing county in the country. They have so many people moving in, their budget revenue has exploded, but they're spending it faster than the budget's coming in, right? Because nobody's holding them accountable. Oh, we got another 100,000 moving in.
Well,
let's do this. And they just go.
You know what they do to do that, right? Though, you know what gets them in trouble? Abatements.
There's all sorts of things, right? It's
abatements and tax increment financing where they adjust. So let's say you've got the property taxes that would come into those properties as they come in as new. What they've done is that they've diverted those funds to the developer over the course of like 5 or 10 years. And then the abatements kick in, and then between all of it, and then what you find is like 10 years later, everyone's moving because they can't afford the $6,000 a year tax bill that's raised their taxes $500 a month, that they're going, I didn't know about this. Yet there's their signature 10 years ago.
And they play games like, and I'll use Leland is the town next to us, which was a dirt path when I moved here. And it is that's where it's growing the most. Right. So they put in a development, which ballpark has about 7,000 houses now, and they're adding another 3,500. So 10,000 families. Now, this is how genius they are. Wouldn't you say that you might need a firehouse for that?
Oh, no.
They didn't plan for one.
I got a firehouse.
They didn't make the developer put one in.
What?
Right? So now they have to come up with millions of dollars to put a firehouse in. They did it here where I live, right? There's a section of town where they are just slamming house after house, and it's a 2 freaking lane road. There is nowhere to build roads, right? So now they're trying to figure out, well, we never thought about this. Duh. We might need bigger roads. We might need a firehouse. They had to build a firehouse there on my dollar. Lord. Instead of saying to the developer who made millions of dollars, and these houses, by the way, are going to fall apart in about 20 years because they are junk, right? And oh, by the way, they built them on sand they trucked in to cover a swamp, which the first time a Cat 5
no.
Right? But I mean, the fact that our current mayor just happens to be a real estate developer making millions of dollars has nothing to do with it, right? This is why you need to get involved.
Lawsuit coming.
There ain't gonna be any lawsuit because they're all in cahoots, right? It is ridiculous, and that's why you need to get active because nobody called them out on it. Now all of a sudden, $300 more a month I'm paying. I haven't gotten a goddamn thing out of it. They played the game where they're like, we're going to reassess all the houses, but it's going to be revenue neutral, right? So my assessment went up by $150,000 of value. Going to be revenue neutral. We're going to adjust the rate. You know how much they adjusted the rate? About 10% they took off. They kept the same rate and just slammed us. Yeah. Democrats running Democratic areas. So, this is why you have to be active. Forget the men's issue side of it. This is where you need to be active because it's going to happen if you don't. And that's why I say these elections to me, are more important than the presidential.
Well, yeah, more happens at your.
Good Lord. Go bitch slap them. Violence is good. No, I'm only kidding. Oh, here we go. She muted herself.
Get her!
Monster Mom. You were saying?
I was saying. First of all, Steve wants to know if my picture has dart holes in it. I live in Texas. It has something other than dart holes.
What is going on?
My youngest took the dog for a walk.
Yeah.
Which one?
Not the husky. Sansa is very upset, as you can hear.
My two are
sounds like it.
Wait.
He's like, what about me?
What about me? What about me? What about? Shut up! Winter is not coming. Be quiet.
It's bothering Molly. Molly's upset now.
Send me my way. I got winter coming.
Molly's upset now. Yeah, baby. Lindsay, it's all Lindsay's fault.
Yes, it's all my fault. It's technically the gremlin's fault. I was going to say something else. Oh, Steve was saying that they're going to have to tear down a house to put a firehouse. No, they're going to wait for one to burn down. And then they're going to put the firehouse on top of it.
Where they ended up in that area where they're putting the firehouse.
So, okay.
Is in
now
a dead
I've got all these questions like, well, did they remember the water treatment plant in the water tower?
Oh, they have a water tower. It's about off my best friend's. One of my best friends is how lanai, they call it. I call it a porch. But you know, it's again, you want to be active locally because it affects your bottom line more than what your president's doing. President doesn't set tax rates, right? Not for property tax, and you know the state has some say on it to be sure, but most of it's set at the local level. School boards set their budgets. Again, state has input, but hey, you know, we need a new gymnasium. $20 billion later, or 20 million, I should say. You know,
so a lot of that stuff usually I like when stuff like that comes. It goes out for a referendum vote because if you have a referendum vote, you have to have 60% or greater for it to go through.
So where I live, they recently instituted a law that said that those that will be affected are the ones who have the vote. So the city of San Antonio keeps trying to pass all this crap for the Bexar County. And the Bexar County residents who don't live inside San Antonio keep telling the city to basically go fuck themselves sideways with a pointy stick. And the city keeps trying to annex us in, but we're the ones who get to vote. And we had enough people that complained, hey, now the city keeps annexing us these areas in without the say of the residents. The rest of the city is voting, but not the residents in the pay it's in. Well, the state recently had to get involved and pass a law saying that if you're going to annex an area, the residents of that area are the ones who gets to vote, not the area that is acquiring you. So now we get to say F you. But for the longest time, we didn't.
So in Iowa, we have an 80-20 rule. So if say the city of Roland wants to annex, 100 acres, we'll just say 100 acres because when they annex thousands of acres usually. But if we annex 100 acres or attempt to, we have to have 80% of those landowners. So if there's 80 acres of those landowners have to consent to it. Otherwise, we don't get to.
But again, this going back to what we're talking about, this is all important for you to get involved in because it directly affects you.
Well,
so
for the longest time, the county residents didn't get involved in it. And that allowed the city to unilaterally basically do whatever they wanted. And San Antonio has ballooned because people didn't get involved. Yeah. Well, finally, they did get involved, and enough people got upset that they took it all the way up to the state level, and the state said, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is get your ass out and vote. And I will be voting this weekend because we have early voting. If you can't.
I've already voted.
Yeah, get out and vote.
And yes, I did vote for myself.
No. You didn't vote for your non-existent opponent?
My non-existent opponent. That's right.
I'm going to come and run against you next time.
There's write-ins.
I have used write-ins many times.
Yeah.
Many times. So anyway, that we'll wrap it up on that. Just a couple things housework-wise. We talked about at the very beginning of the show. We will not be in DC next week as we planned. Damn government. Not our fault. The shutdown is the reason why. Because we were there to do interviews. They're either not going to be available or not even be there now. And we can't get into the Capitol or anywhere else because they're all closed. So it just didn't make sense for us to go now. I'm super bummed about it, to be honest with you.
I was looking forward to it.
I was really looking forward to it. I have to be honest. But we're going to reschedule it. It's not gone forever. It's just a matter of time. And when that'll be, who knows? It's up to Congress, basically.
Right.
Although I'm not going in December because it's holidays.
No.
Nor if you've ever been to DC in the winter, it's not fun. It probably won't be till spring now. But, if you're watching the show, make sure, we haven't said it at all, make sure you give us the likes, the thumbs up. We're out on, 5 channels, I think, now.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not watching on Boy Meets Squirrel, so if you're watching on my YouTube channel or my Facebook, go to Boy Meets Squirrel and follow us there. We're starting to do more content on that.
We're also going to start bringing in Instagram for Boy Meets Squirrel, and we're going to try Rumble. But
let's get ready to Rumble. Although Rumble doesn't do much, but hey, why not, right?
Well, we're going to try and get some stuff in more centered around Boy Meets Squirrel. So
yeah, and we're going to be hopefully bringing on some guests down the road. I've been talking to a bunch of people. I haven't really talked to these two about it yet, but
we've been busy.
Yeah, it'll be nice to be able to do that. I was on a guest on a podcast last night. Wasn't
this the one where it went over by more than an hour and a half?
We went over by an hour. So it was the Raging Tomato. It's linked on my YouTube because we share streamed it to mine as well. I had a blast doing it. We had a little spicy time in there, and I don't mean that kind of spicy time. I mean, we were for a little bit, but it was a friendly way. It was not negative, certainly no anger by any of us. We're starting to expand some stuff, and I announced it last week. I'll announce it again here. There is a second YouTube channel now for me, Men Need to Be Heard 2, TOO. What that channel is more, I'm starting to call it advice from dad or grandpa. I talk about things that men can do to improve their life, things to be aware of, stuff like that. So go check that out. I gained like 200 subscribers in the last week. I want to get that one up and growing. There's daily posts going out every morning on that, as well as my other one. So that's that. Country just asked, I missed it last night. Will it be on yours tonight again? It's actually, if you go to my YouTube channel, Country, and go to the live tab, you can see the replay is there. It's called Bias and Divorce Court, and you'll actually see it's a different thumbnail than Boy Meets Squirrel. So, all right, you guys promo whatever you want to promo. I'm done. I shamelessly plugged my shit. You need to do the same.
I am Squirrely Girl 1988 on almost everything, although honestly I haven't been on YouTube to make content for a while because damn it, Chloe!
Damn.
Send Chloe my way. I got a Chloe.
Now you upset. Rudy's upset.
Aww.
All 2.4 pounds of them.
Trying to jump into the window.
They'll come and kick your ass too. And he's only got one ball so far. That's what the vet told us.
Chloe.
Like, really? We're cutting them off anyway, so what's the problem?
And if you guys want some excitement, go to the City of Roland, Iowa's Facebook page. You can see some of the videos.
Curtis.
You can see some of the stuff that I've been putting out there. It's exciting.
Ooh, yeah.
The quirks of a small town.
There'll be a new scarecrow in the cornfield, courtesy.
If you start hanging pedophiles in the trees in like March, they look really great.
Hey, wait a minute. They have wood chippers there. I'm good with that.
We do have wood chippers.
So, yeah. All right. We got 10 seconds. Somebody wrap it up. I'm good.
Bye, guys.
Bye.